Welcome back to Ox Tools. I'm Tom. So I've been on Christmas break for, I don't know, over a week now, and getting lots of time in the shop and having some fun. Shopping on eBay, doing my thing, finding all kinds of cool stuff, and along the way we got a big collection of stuff that we're going to show on the Meatloaf. So if you're not familiar with the Meatloaf, it's kind of a mixed bag of engineering, tools, and books and machine tags and a little bit of everything. There's usually something for everybody in there. So let's check it out and see what we got. I figured we'd do an opening here. This is I got this off eBay, and I bought it on spec, okay? So, and let's get it out of here. It's something that normally costs a lot of money, and this one actually didn't look that bad in the pictures, and the person that had listed this had a pretty friendly price. It was less than $100. It was, I think it was listed for $89, and with a buy it now. Okay, so if you see something that looks pretty good for a cheap price, and it's got a buy it now, you should buy it now. You guys are going to be surprised here. Alright, what we got is a vise. Like I need another vise, right? But this particular one happens to be a Hermann Schmidt vise that didn't appear to have any grinder bites in it. And it just had a little bit of surface corrosion in a few places, as you see, and no grinder barks on it or anything like that. AS has got somebody's initials, but there it is, Hermann Schmidt. So that is a over $1,000 vise right there, and 81 or 89 bucks, doesn't really matter, plus some shipping. So I'm going to call that a win, huh? I mean, that's the worst bit right there, but I know somebody that can probably lap that. Actually, you know what? I can't even feel it. I can't, my fingernail is not catching anything, so I think that's just staining. So I may be able to, well, we'll just do a little checking on it and see. But look at that. So the mahogany box from Hermann Schmidt to put this in cost more than what I paid for this vise. So yes, you can find good deals still on eBay. You just have to look, and you got to be willing to stick your neck out a little bit on something like this. So anyway, I'm stoked. Well, I've got kind of an interesting update on this Hermann Schmidt vise. So, you know, and I mentioned this before, I already have one of these, and I kind of bought this on spec, right? So I actually reached out to Hermann Schmidt and asked them if they were interested in doing a collaboration with me. And they were. So the good news is they were interested. And so here's the deal. This vise that I got on eBay, which is actually in pretty good shape except for some staining. Hermann Schmidt is actually going to regrind this to factory specs and provide a mahogany case and a wrench. Okay, and they're just going to donate that. And so what's going to happen with the whole deal is we are going to donate this to a machinist apprentice, or I haven't decided how we're going to select that person yet, but a lot of people, maybe yourself included, will get a chance at getting this vise. And I'll ship it anywhere in the world, not too heavy. Anyway, that's over a kilobuck value to whoever's out there. So you get a first class Hermann Schmidt grinding vise in top factory condition, and in a mahogany case and all that, and you get a little bit of you get to play along and have a little bit of fun too. So now I've talked to them, and according to their records, they stopped using this particular logo engraving in 1974, I think was what I was told. So this is pre-74 or 74 or before this particular vise, and it's just in wonderful shape, and it has an original owner's initials on it, AS. I think I might have mentioned that before, which doesn't affect the function of this. So what I thought we would do now is do a little bit of inspecting on it and see how it looks. And then when we get it back from Hermann Schmidt and we kind of initiate the raffle or whatever, we'll inspect it again and check out those factory specs. So let's do a little bit of metrology here. So the main kind of the main things that you're concerned with on a vise like this is basically the parallelism of all the surfaces, and then the perpendicularity of this face to the base and this face to the rail. So it's all kind of intertwined. So when you clamp a piece in there, that you know that it's perpendicular to your reference plane, right? And so these get used in a number of attitudes. They get used like this. They get used laying on their sides like that. In fact, that's one of the great uses there is. That's not really a. I don't have a good piece here. Maybe something like this. Although the idea would be you would clamp a piece like this, and you can grind this, and without removing it from the vise, and I don't want to drop this, you can stand it up on edge and grind that end perpendicular to that surface to close limits, right? And so it's fast. If you got a lot of little blocks to square up and whatnot, you can just work them in the vise and roll the vise around and get them done pretty quick. So we're gonna. In fact, this thing's starting to kind of ring down to the surface plate a little bit. Let's take this off here. And this thing, you got to get it on just right because it fits so well. There's just no perceptible movement in it at all. So, all right, let's get that out of there. Okay, set that aside. Retrieve this little thing here. So let's do a little checking on this little monkey here. We're going to check parallelism, and then perpendicularity, and I don't know, we'll just fiddle around with it a little bit. All right, let's do a little poking around here and see what we can find here. So I'm just going to do I'm going to zero it back in here somewhere. This indicator is a Brown and Sharp best test, 50 millionths. And I have to say this is one of my favorite indicators. Okay, there we go. All right, let's fish around a little bit. All right, that's almost a tenth there. That's a tenth. About a tenth. About a tenth. You gotta drive by the hole here. See if we come back to zero. Let's sneak across to the other side. There's a tenth. A tenth and a half, something like that. Tenth and a half. Tenth and a half. Pretty stable. Tenth and a half. Let's come back across, and our zero is still still pretty good. Okay, so tenth and a half, something like that. Let's see, and that was That was high, so that was plus. Right in that area somewhere. Okay. All right. And let's just scan this one real quick here. See what we got. Although you don't really use this particular surface. Yeah, 50 millionths. Here, let's see, that was plus. From the from our reference. So let's check perpendicularity here. What we're going to do is we'll use a cylinder square here on this and stick it out to get a little more resolution here. Alright, I call that a pretty good so that's I don't know, I'm kind of eyeballing it there. Yeah, it's pretty good. 25 millionths, something like that. Okay, and then what we'll do, just to we'll rotate this 90 degrees, and we'll do another little check, because this has some error too, right? That you have to kind of take out of the equation there. So let's reset here. The action of these best tests are just wonderful. Alright, so that's about the same. Yeah, minus just a shade. It's split into 50 millionths divisions, so I'm going to call it 25 millionths, and that's pretty far from that surface, so I would call that pretty perpendicular. Okay, so what else should we check? Let's pop that loose, put that away, and let's test the parallelism of this surface here in reference to the base here. So we're going to check that and see what that looks like. Alright, that's pretty good. Let's just do a sweep across here first. Alright. So, I got zippity doodah on that. That's pretty damn good. Let's go here. Front to back. These things are so nice. This is what you're paying for. You might look at that price and go, that's kind of a lot of money, right? Well, it is, right? But some little Connecticut tool maker ground the hell out of this thing and made it really nice. So, the idea is that, so this is from 74 or earlier, right? This thing has been around for quite a while, and it's stable as hell, and still probably nearly as good as it came out of the factory. So in case you're wondering if the indicator's working still, right, there it is. Came out of the factory, right, and it's just it's completely usable the way it is, with the exception of the the fussiness related to the staining here, right? And that's more of just kind of a AR kind of problem, right, as opposed to any kind of functional problem, right? It's not a functional problem. Okay, so we're going to do one more thing. We're going to clamp something in the vise, and and extend out that surface and see if we can magnify any errors that are present in when it's clamped up. So, oh, actually, we can check this back when it's standing on its end here. Although, does that even matter? I think this is a better test here. If we clamp something in there and extend it out, and then we can indicate along that. So, all right, let's check off of this this surface here. Now, we previously noted that this was high by 1.5 tenths, and on this rail here, you know, most of this rail was 1.5 tenths high this way. So let's see what we get here, and we should be able to see this. If I can get on the thing. I should have zeroed this up before I turned the camera on. Sorry, guys. All right, that's pretty good. I got kind of a lousy view on it here. But let's go out here now. Okay, so we see a little bit there, which is to be expected, and that's low, right? Which makes sense. This is high, and this is tipped down this way a little bit. So we got a little bit there, and that's what it's that's 4 inches out there, right? So and it's only, what is it? We got it 3/10, something like that, at 4 inches. So still pretty good. Although that's something that'll get probably corrected when Hermann Schmidt regrinds this thing. Now, I'm kind of curious to see, and I'm trying to encourage them to take some pictures of them reconditioning this vise, so that because a lot of people are kind of curious about how they do this. Although I can understand if they want to protect some of their methodologies and their kind of processes, how they do this, and kind of in a production environment, right? So anyway, hopefully we'll get some pictures or maybe some video if we're lucky of them doing this particular vise. So anyway, this is going to get packed up and sent back to them, and I'm not going to twist their arm to make them do it fast or anything. I'll let them do it, slip it into their production schedule, and get this ground, and then we'll come back and see if we can give this away to a deserving person. So let's have a talk about soft-faced hammers. And part of that, part of what's spurring the discussion here is a large box arrived a couple of weeks ago, and I had no idea it was coming, and I opened it up, and this is what was in it. Now, the story behind this is I have a friend who has a friend that knows this company, Trusty Cook. Anyway, they had some conversation, and they said, let's send him some hammers, because he likes hammers. So this is like Richard White, and then the president is Joel Trusty, hence the name Trusty Cook. And I believe it's trustycook.com if you want to look at the different products that they have. So what we have here is an array of hammers, and these, most of these, not all of them, I don't think, they're shot filled, which means they have loose shot in a cavity inside the head, and all of them are soft face with the exception of these guys here. Now, I'm not 100% positive that these are shot filled, because I believe this steel runs all the way through and then is part of the handle too. Now, I don't have an x-ray machine, and I don't want to cut one of these open to see, but that's kind of my belief. And the weight feels like that might be the case. I don't hear anything moving around with these two here. So these two may be not shot filled, but I'm not 100% positive on that. So where do I start? So there's certainly a need for soft face hammers in the shop. These are nice shot filled hammers because one of the features of shot filled hammers is they don't rebound. Okay, that's also happens to be one of the negative things about shot filled hammers is they don't rebound. So if you look at blacksmiths and if you've ever done any large amount of hammering, some of that rebound energy is useful if you have a lot of hammering to do. Okay, so they're kind of in this in-between land of they're good for certain things and they're maybe not so good for other things, right? Where maybe you're pounding nails, you don't want a dead blow hammer. Let's put it that way. You want a little bit of rebound that you get. Now, so there's several types here, so let's just go through them real quick and then I'll move some out of the way because I have some other hammers to show you. These are called bossing hammers here. This is mainly for working sheet metal, where you're producing curvatures in sheet metal, and I'm going to show you some other examples of bossing hammers here. And unfortunately, that is one of the uses of shot filled hammers that I don't like because they're just much too heavy, and so you need something more like a mallet you want velocity for this kind of operation, some mass, and it's a very fine line, and these tend to be a little bit too heavy if you're weak like me. So, but that's okay. I mean, for some guys, this will be fine, and they have a nice depth here to reach into deep shapes and works small features. Okay, so bossing hammers. So let's set those aside. And yeah, that's a pretty hefty one there. I don't know what that one weighs. Does it say? No, it doesn't say. Okay, and then we have kind of the planes. Okay, and this would probably be my favorite here. This style here, small face. It's a good weight. I love these handles. They're nice. You see how they're flared? They're flared in both directions, so if your hand's oily, it doesn't slide off. And this almost looks like a kind of a ray skin, kind of like a samurai sword, right? And it's pretty grippy. So I do like the handles on these. They're pretty nice. And this is an excellent weight here. And once again, I don't see the weight on here. So let's do a little comparing here. So these are basically ball peens, okay? And this one's cute because it's short. This is just basically a ball peen steel face, okay? I don't think there's anything revolutionary here. And once again, I don't know if these are even shot filled, so let's set those aside. So let's talk about these. And then let's introduce some other ones here. Some other soft face hammers, okay, that we can talk about. Okay, so continuing our conversation here on soft face hammers. So why would you use a soft face hammer? Well, the main overriding reason is to not mark the work. So when you hit the work, you don't want to leave a mark on it. Okay, so that's really the primary reason for this. Kind of a hammer, soft face hammer, and that's pretty common usage, right? So there's lots of different soft face hammers, right? So here's a kind of an old school one. This is made by Nupla. It has removable faces. Soft face hammer. They got different materials that you can put in here. Fiberglass handle on this, so that's pretty durable. The problem with this one here is there's not a lot of mass in the head, okay? And so, you basically pound your brains out, and if you have, a difficult job or a job that requires a good solid hit, right? And So these have a low mass here. They don't. It's an aluminum head. It's very lightweight. It's pretty much light tapping. Now this is a slight upgrade from that. This is made by Lixie. This is Nupla here, by the way. This is Lixie. It's got an iron head, okay, and I believe there's shot in this one too, although I can't hear it. Removable faces. Okay, so what they've done is they've recognized the problem and they've increased the mass of the head. Okay, right? Now, negatives on this one is difficult to replace handle. If you chowder this all up, this handle's a pain in the neck to change out there. So this one's pretty good though. It's pretty heavy actually. It's heavier than that with soft faces, and then these are different durometers here, so you get kind of different effects. Okay. So here's one of my faves, and once again, soft face, right? And an iron head where they've increased the mass of the head so that you get a more effective blow. These handles are readily replaceable, and then by loosening this large nut you can remove these rawhide faces. Now the negatives here are if you're doing bearing work, for example, little particles of the rawhide can come off, and that's where these have a major advantage, is they're kind of non-contaminating. Okay, so you got lots of material, choices on faces. These they sell. Well, basically, you can machine any face that you want in any material. I have some that I put copper. I have some that I have actually hardwood that I've inserted in there. But the kind of the fallback standard are Babbitt and rawhide there. And but those are made by Garland, readily available. Bossing mallet, old school bossing mallet. Okay. So, your effectiveness of your blow is F equals MA, right? So it's velocity and mass, right? So if you change either one of those, so if you have a higher velocity and a lower mass, you get the same hit as you do with a heavier hammer and a slower velocity, right? So there's this balance point for each human, right, of that F equals MA, right, in a hammer, right? For example, and it's kind of unrelated, they did some studies with shovels, time studies with shovels, and they found for the average human that the right load for a 8-hour shift of working, right, the right load in any material, okay, was about 22 pounds, okay? So that's why you see all these different shovels, right? So what they're trying to do is optimize that shovel load at 22 pounds for the intended material, right? And so humans have these kind of features about them, right? That certain weights and certain length handles and leverage and things kind of work out, right? So hammers are no different than that, right? So if you have a hammer that's too heavy, it's tiring and ineffective, right? So there's this kind of sweet spot, and it's a little different for each person. All right, so let's keep going here. This is let's talk about this one next here, just briefly here, and then we'll kind of have some concluding thoughts on soft face hammers and shot filled hammers. All right, so the last one I want to show is this one here. This was designed by me actually, and from conversations with a friend of mine, Ray Schleen, who's a master coach builder guy, and kind of conceived of the idea, although at the time he didn't have one, I don't think. Anyway, so I made one and started using it, and once again, the weight of this particular one is kind of optimized for the length of handle and your ability to swing it, right? So one feature of this hammer here is that it has removable faces. Okay, you can remove them and replace them with anything that you want. Now I used to make these and sell them. Don't do that anymore. go ahead and steal the idea if you want to make one for yourself. It's kind of a nice thing. And then the other part of this is the depth from the handle to here is important in sheet metal working. So you want some depth, but if it's a lot longer, then you can introduce a torque when you're hitting, right? It's kind of hard to demonstrate here. Because you have this long arm here, you can introduce a torque that's also tiring. So there's kind of a sweet spot in this length here, like these guys have here, right? There's kind of a sweet spot in that length for reaching into a shape, and it's not too long, it's not too short. Now in this case, you can make it up with by making some deeper faces, right? If you actually need to get into a deeper shape, and you can kind of make them any shape that you want. This one's for crushing sheet metal shrinks and shrinking sheet metal. So anyway, there's a kind of a custom made hammer there. So yeah, which one to get, right? Which one to get? So if I was on a desert island and I wanted a mallet or soft face hammer, I'd probably have two. I'd probably have this one, and I'd probably have this one. It's probably what I would have, and I don't think I would have this one. This one's a tough one here. I keep this one near the mill, and I actually really like it. It's small, and it's got a good mass in that small package. So that's a tough call there. So anyway, so if you're looking for a soft face hammer and you want to try something new, check out Trusty Cook. They got many more. They have sledgehammers. They have all kinds of stuff. And Richard and what was the Presidente's name there? I forgot his name. Joel, sorry. So Richard and Joel, thanks so much for sending some hammers, and I'm going to distribute some of these to some other YouTubers, and keep a couple for myself. And thank you very much for sending those along. So we'll try these out. I do love these grips. So that's an awesome grip. So thank you. This one's pretty cool here. This comes to us from a gentleman named Robert Ridgway, and he's in Cary, Illinois. And Robert's kind of an interesting character. He was a curator for the let's see if I can pronounce the San Filippo collection. The San Filippo collection, which is so the way I understand it, it's basically some rich guy that was in the nut industry, Brazil nuts and whatever, that was into collecting Victorian era steam engines and machinery and refurbishing it. So anyway, Robert was a curator there and helped rebuild some of these engines and put them on display. It's just a fantastic thing. And now it's a private collection, and it's in Illinois, and you have to make an appointment or have a group or whatever, and to tour that facility. But it's online, so I'll put a link in the description. But anyway, Robert knows that I'm into these machine badges here, and he said, "Oh, hey, I got a good one. I'm going to send it to you." And he even polished it up and kind of refurbished it here, right? And this is an Otis elevator emblem. I'm not sure where in the elevator these went, but as you guys know, Otis is a big elevator company, and this one is cast bronze or brass. It's just wonderful. It probably weighs 1.5 pounds, something like that. It's gorgeous. And Robert, thank you very much for sending that in. That's pretty cool, and that's going to go in the nameplate collection there. And the word's out, and people keep sending me these things, and so I gotta figure out a kind of a modular way to display them, so that everybody can kind of appreciate them. But anyway, Robert, thank you so much for sending that along, and he sent me a CD-ROM. You guys know what that is? That's a little record. full of images of them installing some of these and retrieving some of these old steam engines and different kinds of machinery. Old single lung engines and whatnot. So Robert, thanks again very much. All right, these badges here, these are pretty cool. This comes to me from a friend of mine, Bruce Gratton, senior, and or junior, junior or senior, I don't remember now. Senior, I think. Anyway, he had been saving these for a while, and he sent them along for my collection of name badges here. So this is pretty cool. Fairbanks Morse. I just love this little logo in the middle there. It's got a hand holding a little, with a ring holding a weight, and I guess they made scales and things like that, and motors, and actually made some. I should flatten this out a little bit here. And single cylinder engines, all kind, just tons and tons of stuff. Kind of like Alice Chalmers. Is this kind of a manufacturing company that built a lot of different stuff. And then this, so this is off of a South Bend milling machine, which you don't see very often. South Bend's kind of known for their lathes, but here's a name badge off of a vertical milling machine, showing the different speeds depending on what pulley you're on. So once again, so what I've been doing, senior, yeah, he put his name on the back. Great, thanks, Bruce. Senior, I got it right. And that's a great idea. So I started doing that. Like on this one here, I put Robert Ridgway's name on the back of that too, just so I can keep track of who sends me these things. So they're pretty cool. So Bruce, thanks a lot for sending those. Those are cool one. I love this kind of brick red here. This is really nice. These things are just pleasant to look at. I mean, for what they are, right? And he pried the rivets off as before this motor or whatever this was on got scrapped out. So same here. This may have gotten scrapped out. Who knows? So, Bruce, thanks again.